It's Podpodular. I'm going to come in calmly today from this beautiful modular Baraka intro. Thank you for joining us, everybody. This is episode 51. It is Thursday, October 16th. And the agenda here today, we've got the 12th installment of the Artist Spotlight series. And that's it. That's it for us here today. Just double check with my co-host here, Mr. Scotty Fuller. Nothing else of note STS9 related right now, right?
Nope. We're dormant till LA. Certainly nothing worth paying your money for this weekend happening that's STS9 related, at least. That's my favorite intro you've ever done, Nate. I just that calm jazz radio voice. You should do that more. That was sick.
When it calls for it, for sure. I couldn't just come in and just be like, it's Podpodular, like on top of that shit. Should have just went like with a metal voice or something like that. Welcome back. But hey, let's get to business, Scotty. We've got a lot to talk about with a very wonderful guest. Come on in here, Scotty.
I will. So, I'm going to start my intro with a little story time. A story that certainly, Nate, you remember. But our guest today, I met at Wavespell 2019. I was hanging out with Nate. He was telling me a story, and he kept talking about Mitch. And at some point, I kind of cut him off. I was like, "Hey, bro, I don't know who Mitch is." And there was nothing after that. He was like, "Oh, we got to go find Mitch right now. You have to meet this man. You guys would love each other. I have to put you in front of him." Luckily, he was not far. We met that day, and I have loved this guy ever since. I love the way his brain works. I love the way he looks at art. And that's why he's joining us as the 12th edition of the Artist Series today, in the capacity of his Tasty Beats project that pound for pound, honestly, is one of my favorite creative things that I've ever seen done. And I'm so proud to know this man. And we are so proud to have him on the podcast today. So welcome, my boy, Mitch Vaught. Welcome.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Fuck yeah, Mitch. Well, thank you for joining us. Nice little studio there. Looks like you're cooking up quite a bit here. Well, Mitch, we know you've listened to a few of these, so you kind of know the deal, how we start things off. Before we start talking STS9 or the music you make, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you're from, where'd you grow up, what kind of stuff were you into as a kid, all that good stuff.
Yeah, Mitch. I'm Mitch, obviously. I grew up in Golden, Colorado, not too far from Red Rocks. I pretty much live not too far from where I grew up. I've always been fascinated by music and food, pretty much my whole life. I've always been playing drums with pencils and just, I don't know, always air drumming or something in that capacity. And then food is pretty much my life. Went to culinary school, and I was a chef for a while. Got out of that world in a sense, but still hold that creativity to what makes me who I am today still. But yeah.
The last time I'll be snarky this episode, but wow, real cool, real original food, music, stuff nobody's really that into, right?
I can't really relate to a lot of people, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's hard to make friends.
Yeah. That's okay.
As far as music goes, who are some of the artists that kind of raised you? Who sits at the foundation of Mitch's musical taste pyramid?
Man, to be honest, it's Blink-182, Travis Barker. That dude, the drumming from that dude just inspired, just like, well, I loved his style. I loved, the whole fuck you vibe that Blink-182 brought to, the rebellion of being like a teen growing up. And then Linkin Park.
Fuck yes. God damn it. Yes.
Hybrid Theory, Meteora, and Reanimation, I still think to this day are some of the most amazing albums ever created. I think that fusion of metal and hip hop and like electronic.
Hmm.
Still, when I listen to those albums front to back, I'm like, this is just
Yeah.
unreal compared with
I,
like,
I,
screaming and all of it.
I
The
think there's. Go ahead.
reanimation is one. I'm glad you brought up reanimation. Reanimation gets slept on, dude. That is, you talk about a front to back listen. Incredible. I can't believe it's been this long since Linkin Park has been brought up on the podcast. Honestly,
I don't think we've ever said Linkin Park's name on this podcast, and that's what I was about to say. I think I've touched on this a little bit on the podcast at this point because it's one of my favorite things to talk about. You know, in the late night version of what we're doing right now. But kind of what leads everybody to STS9 and kind of those through lines that exist. And there's a lot to be said about Linkin Park and kind of some of those things that I go back to now and I listen to and I'm like, oh, this totally makes sense how I made my way to STS9 from this. Even though on their face, the kind of outcome of the music is very different. The bones of it, I don't know, it just makes sense if I'm even making sense right now.
I can see that with a lot of their like, I mean, like STS9 is very hip hop, drum and bass, jazz,
Yeah.
and whereas like Linkin Park is like hip hop, metal, electronic-y like influence and rock. And like I think, having some of those songs with just like straight scratching and breakbeat,
Yeah.
it's just
Mhm.
like, when I go back and listen to it now, it's something that even I still am like, how did they make this in like 2000,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
early 2000s, just like what they were doing with just their sound. And like I feel like they were such a rebel. And then like, yeah, Reanimation came out, and like I didn't really truly appreciate that album until
no,
more.
I just thought it was like cool as fuck to listen to rap. That was it. And now you look back on it and you're like fucking Jurassic 5 and all that shit. Like,
Remixes, you're like, whoa, this, I feel like this should have just came out now. And I'd be like, yeah, this is stands the test of time. It's not like, oh, you can tell this was recorded back then. You're like, holy shit, this is like, I didn't truly appreciate it back then, because back then I wasn't like, oh, remix. And I never really listened to a lot of like live music. I was more
Yeah.
classic rock or punk or Blink-182. I don't know. I just kind of like, I took music in, and I always remember loving certain drum breakdowns and like things that just kind of got me heated up. Like, in that, I always loved, dancing and getting down some, so that was kind of like my growing up phase. And then I switched to like pretty much all the music I got to now when I was about 16. So
Okay.
um I got it was like,
You and I have talked about the Disco Biscuits a good amount.
yeah, well, that was the first concert I saw at Red Rocks.
Okay.
wow.
First concert I ever saw live was Lotus.
Mm,
Whoa.
that's
Yeah.
crazy. So,
Okay.
B Pearl's first show is STS9. Your first show is fucking Lotus. My first show is Pearl Jam. It's not quite as heady, but I think that's all right. But I mean, damn. Did you grow up in a musical household, or was music kind of something you found on your own?
I'd say it was something I found on my own. It wasn't like my parents don't like, they're not like music people. No one really play, like my mom likes to play piano sometimes, but it's like wasn't listening to anything that like I kind of found music on my own. And I think the first album I ever bought was, I think it was Ludacris, Word of Mouth
Word of mouth.
edited stuff. So didn't quite get the anything from it, but I was like, roll out, like, yeah, it's
See, to me, that's a classic album.
a great
Like,
album.
that's a classic album. I fucking love that album.
Like,
I feel
listening to it not edited is very weird for me, because I was like, those songs got ingrained into my mind without like hearing F bombs and everything else. I was like, oh, and I think Outcast, The Love Below, and Speaker Box, that was another one
yeah,
edited.
that was my first one. Yeah.
God, the Love Below. You want to talk about an album? The Love Below specifically, just so ahead of its time.
Yeah,
Like so good. Fuck yeah. So obviously, you've been around music your whole life in some way, shape, or form. An awesome musical foundation, as I would expect. You said you've kind of been around food your whole life. Really, when did that start? Like, do you remember a point at childhood where you were like, "Oh, I like really like how food works, not just eating it."
Yeah. So to be, I never forget it. So my parents worked like two opposite schedules. You know, my dad worked construction during the day. He'd get home, he'd be super wiped out, and my mom would work at night. So there wasn't really like much. Um, my brother and I were like left to our own devices for making food. So the first meal that I still like I ever created or like was like kind of wanted to, because we just had I was bored, I'm like I want to make food. I don't want to just eat microwave things and ramen or mac and cheese. I had the country fried chicken patties, like frozen. And then I put marinara sauce on that, made spaghetti and put some cheese on it. And I was like, boom, chicken parmesan, got it,
Boom.
Oh yeah.
And it kind of was like, ooh, what if I made the sauce from scratch? What if I like cooked tomatoes and it's stuff, and so it kind of like developed from that. And like I remember the feeling of like making that dish, it's something so simple, and then you make it for your and they're my parents were like, this is really good, and I'm like, what, like this is cool, and like obviously back then I feel like my noodles were overcooked, my chicken was probably crispy as fuck. But it was something that I like really liked. My uncle on my mom's side, he was the chef for a while, and I remember he kept hearing about me like wanting to make food and things all the time, and he gave me this book which I still have. It's like pretty much just like every possible cooking term ever, and it's just like a dictionary of like cooking terms, and like he gave it to me and like signed it, and I was like, oh, I'm like reading all these things, which is it's reading a dictionary. It's not like as there's nothing happening, but you're like, oh, like what's this term mean? Like, oh, that's crazy, I didn't know that. And like then leading into school, I got I was you did your cooking classes where like like home ec, you're like, oh, let's make cookies. And then then I did a trade school in high school called Warren Tech, and that was where I took that culinary pursuit to the next level, where I'd go to a different school, Red Rocks Community College. And I remember our teachers were like, let me guess, you think you just come here, get super high, let me eat some food? And I'm like, that's exactly what I thought. I'm like, that's 100 that's exactly what's going down here. I'm going to get really high and eat a bunch of food. But it took it to the next level of like, yeah, you're doing that, but you're going to be like figuring shit out. And like, I just remembered I was like 7 o'clock in the morning, wake and bake on the bus, listening to Sound Tribe, fucking Pretty Lights, just getting to school, like, oh yeah, I'm stoned. And then like my
flat brim, yeah,
her on the side,
Like I got right
like
now, I need a haircut, dude.
my hair was like pound a year, mushroom hemp necklace, just obnoxious,
so fucking white. It's insane.
Like the type of person I was, if I see now, I'd like, I'm gonna punch that dude. What's that dude? It's like, son of a bitch. Look at those memories that pop up that I'm like, that show was so sick, and I'm like, all right, we're doing this. You don't want anyone to know that, not Eddie.
Yeah, it's all right. You're ahead of your time. We'll call it that, just like Linkin Park. But let's get into it, because it sounds like you got into STS9 in high school, which you're ahead of the curve on me and Scotty. You didn't really get into them until our college years. How'd you first discover STS9?
Oh man, so my friend, like my best friend growing up, it was like a trio. It was like me, Klaus, and Kevin, and we all lived kind of up in this area. I first smoked weed with Kevin. He tricked me. I remember walking to school on our off block. He's like, we're smoking mint. And then like, he's like, oh, there's some weed in that. And I was like, whoa, like,
but wait, you were okay with smoking mint, but like smoking weed was
weed,
like,
that's where I draw the line.
I was like, I don't know what this is, buddy. Well, I'm a because it tastes good. You know? Golden Mountain Kids, but he had this friend, Richard, and we get high in his car before school, and he had these insane like subwoofers in his car. And man, we would listen to like old school Bass Nectar. So Some Sing, the remix,
Yeah.
like that song, and Hidden Hand, Hidden Fist were like songs where I was like, I'd get super high to like, what is this? And like Peace Blaster was like just coming out, and like they all went to Red Rocks like the year before, 2008, and they were like, we saw STS9, and he's like, I took some acid. It was one of the craziest things ever. And I was like, I don't know about this acid and all this.
Yeah.
But like, I just remember like listening to that music, and I was like, I don't know what to even. It's still like I still listen to. I was just listening to Peace Blaster the other day, and I was like, man, there's just like it's almost like what 15, 16 years later, I'm still listening to these songs, and I'm like, wow, like what, like it's totally different, I don't know. But so that was kind of
it's like the first time you taste like homemade tomato sauce, basically. You're like, okay, yeah.
Like, this could be a feeling every time I taste it. Like,
yeah.
Like, oh, this is music. What is this? Is the whole thing. And so, I like my first concert was Lotus at the Fox Theater. The next night I didn't go, but Pretty Lights opened. And like back then I didn't care. I was like, this band is playing songs for like a long time, and what is going on with this? Like, whoa, it sounds different than like the album. This is insane to me. And I think STS9 was my second concert ever, but it was their PA set at the Bluebird.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And I remember Rent. This is what started my journey into finding them, was because like I like heard what I had, like Peace Blast or whatever like CDs I could get, Some Sing, Hidden Hand, Hidden Fists, Shock Doctrine, but then I like I looked up, I think my friend showed me, it's called archive.org.us, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I downloaded a 4-night Tabernacle New Year's run from 2007. And that was like, I listened to every song just because I was trying to find one song I'm having, because I was like, what is that? And I'm like, no.
You didn't know the name of it, so you were like trying to find it in a 4-night run.
I didn't know anything about this. So I'm like, how do I find this song? And I'm like, just going through this catalog, and I'm like, ooh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I had moments like that. I had moments like that for the first like 2.5 years of following this band, because I didn't immediately know you could go back and listen to live recordings.
Yeah.
So like once I found that, I would go to these shows and I get to these moments, I'd be like, there it fucking is. Like this song that was just in my brain, these 3 or 4 measures of this song that just literally branded on my brain, and like I finally fucking found it, dude. I remember that being after I decided that this is my favorite band, like being one of those moments where I was like, oh, this could get really good. It's just feeling good right now.
Yeah.
I remember being in high school, like playing the music on my headphones so loud that I was like hoping the person next to me would like hear it and be like, that's badass. But it's like, just... I'm like,
they're just hearing like Murph buzzing, like
just on the bus, like, what's that? And I'm over here like, dude, can you turn your music down? I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, fuck me, right?
Sorry, just trying to like, introduce you to this shit.
Yeah, it's good, I promise. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that gets into curating, right? And there's the certain level of curating with being a chef and making food, right? And you've curated a nice set of clips for us here in STS9 Clips. We're going to get into the Tasty Beats stuff too, but I want to start to get into some clips. So we're going to take these chronologically how we do. The first one you came up with was Dominican Holidays 2014. So we'll start there. God, I love 2014. Do we not give them enough credit for like how old school sounding they were sounding in late 2014? Like, I don't know, man. There's something about that one.
I had to run upstairs and let Jay listen to that before he went to sleep. That was where I went. I went to put the headphones on his head, and he was like, Hunter sounds like he's on the beach there, which he is.
Yeah, he is. He is. Dominican
Man.
holidays,
God,
December 3rd.
we used to be a scene, bro. Dominican holidays, like, come on.
Bring me back to Breathless, dude. Mitch,
I never
what
went.
what in particular stuck out to this one? Were you at holidays this year?
That was the first time I went to holidays. I don't know, something about that really because I think they were the first artists to play. That was like the opening set.
Yeah, when they do like the champagne toast.
Yeah, I think it was
Just
like
kick things off. Yeah.
it kicked things off, and I just remember like being so hyped for holidays because I was like, what? Like, that really that's the best thing I heard all weekend.
It was the first song played on the stage. Yeah.
Everything else was like, all right, this is fun. I guess I'll just like drink as much as I can.
Like the biscuits weren't that good yet, right? At this point, like they were kind of going through their rougher period.
That's I think.
I mean, as I remember, Sound Tribe kind of was the sole shining light of this weekend.
And Lotus played a set where they got all their stuff got held up at customs. So they had to borrow from the Biscuits and Humphreys, and they played the most like old school Lotus set
Oh
that
fuck yeah.
I I was present physically there for, but I was
Well, going through this set, a really what opener. It doesn't get much more proper than that. Moonsocket, F word, low set, low swagger, shock doctrine. I've heard a story about this shock doctrine because I didn't get to holidays until the following year. I heard like all the lights went out on stage during the shock doctrine. Is that something you remember?
yeah. Um, it was it was interesting because like I think this is one of the first, if I, at least to my knowledge at the time, this was the first time they opened up shock doctrine into that funk that they like go off in. At least for me, like it's one that I revert back to because I'm like I could play that song note for note like with my
Yeah.
I wanted to, but
Right. I know all the words of that jam. Like
I mean, yeah, this is this. I can't name another shock doctrine from 2014 off the top of my head, but 2015 shock doctrines are where the real meat and potatoes start. So it would make sense that this was kind of the first time that we were starting to see the signs of that.
and I go back to this really what I know a lot of people are like gung ho on the one from Paramount.
Yeah,
And
that's mine.
I love that one, but I don't know, something about this one, just like that, just there's just something about it. Like I was like, oh, like they just kind of kept this, it just had this insane energy. And you're on the beach. And I just remember
yeah.
it goes back to the thing. I've been to holidays 3 times, and
Mhm.
I wish they would just run it back, obviously, but to be
Well, not tonally, but the way that Hunter's playing the bounciness of it, it's kind of Lotus-esque.
yeah,
Which would make sense as to why this one kind of speaks to you because obviously he doesn't have that Rimple tone, but like the way that he's just kind of around doing
yeah.
this the whole time. Sorry for the listeners, that made no sense, but it just yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's an awesome opening clip, and kind of makes sense for who I know you to be outside of STS9.
Yeah. So we get that shock doctrine and then the Arigato into Call Jam, Blue Mood, Totem, second
Sick.
set, Wicked Chicana, When the Dust Settles, Reprise, LDT, Equinox, Clicklang Echo, into Water Song. Hope you got in the fucking ocean during that.
I'll never forget that part. I remember my buddy Clint and like Jack Rob, like we all like that, like we just heard those that first bass notes, and we were like right next to the water. And I think back then you were allowed to go into the water because I think like
Yeah.
years later they're like, well, let's not have these Spunions just go swim,
Yeah.
Back then, I was like,
Yeah, it seems like
they
a
turned
terrible
the
idea.
they turned the stage away from the water, I think, to discourage that.
like back then it was like kind of lined up to where like I remember like going waist deep and like it's like, oh man, like that Clicklang Echo actually has just like I don't know, that whole set was just like top to bottom my favorite set of the weekend. I missed part of the second set, which was a bummer because they had I missed Pied Noir, and I still had never seen that
Yeah,
song.
I'm
like-
looking at that one right now. I was curious.
That was the Sunset show, right?
Yeah, so that one's Metameme, Kaya, Grizzly, Pied Noir, Nude on New Day, Baraka, Possibilities, Poseidon, Firewall, Luma, Daylight, Grow. God
Jesus
damn.
Christ.
That's
I
fucking
showed up during New Dawn, New Day like an asshole, and I was like, so I was like, what'd they play? And I'm like, what was I? How did I miss this? Stupid book.
And you can't blame you. With at an all inclusive, you're completely allowed to just not remember hours of stretches at a time. That's fine, and that, you not really have an account for what happened during that time. So
I
That's
just one song. Oh, I missed like half the set. I'm like, okay.
yeah,
The last day's nothing to slouch at either. Frequency Suite, Oil and Water, March, Orbital, Monkey Music, Walk to the Light, Hidden Hand, Rent, King Pharaoh's Tomb, Vapors, Tap in 2012, Move My Peeps, Crystal Instrument, Inspire Strikes Back.
So I remember they were supposed to play another 2 songs, and during Inspire, just torrential downpour. And
yeah.
I remember I didn't notice it was happening because my friend and I I had to go pee, and I was like, where do I go? He's like, you just go walk down the beach. I'm like, that's a great idea. So I like turned my back, running through it's like torrential downpour, waves are crashing. I'm like mid piss, and then it's like they're like it's it, you know, like they just ripped
Yeah.
fire and then they're like, no encore. I was like, no encore. I was like, oh my God, you know, but
I gotta change my shorts.
yeah. Still,
Uh,
still ended with the heater. I should
yeah.
have stayed and went in the water, but whatever.
Um, so let's get into Tasty Beats. Do you want to play a clip before we start, or do you want to kind of
Sure.
talk origin story first? Let's do clip.
Let's do a clip first to give them an idea, and then we'll give them the origin story here. So we'll start with
Okay,
this one.
if you're not watching on YouTube, you might want to watch on YouTube for this episode.
Fair warning.
Hey, I made guava buns. Mmm, beautiful. Fuck yeah.
So we get a little bit of oh yeah from Yellow inspiration there. Taking me back to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But
Yeah.
yeah, talk to us about People Got a Taste of It, Tasty Beats. So talk to us a little bit about the origin story of this project.
Let's see. I so I've always like been working on music production. I had started like a house project during 2020 called Hasselhoff. Silly, love, I still like, I love that idea. But like I always found myself when I'm like in my studio working on like music, I get like my frustrations would be like, all right, why does this not sound sick? Like what the fuck? This doesn't sound that sick. And so like I always would revert back to cooking, you know. I'm like, what can I do that I'm like really good at? And I just always would like go back to culinary as like my kind of safe place, you know. I'm like, all right, like I love doing this, and like it's another form of expression. And I remember I believe it was holidays 2021. I was hanging out with Chuck Morris, the late great Chuck Morris from Lotus, and I was telling him about this idea I had of combining food and music, because there was this guy that I would watch on like Instagram that like he would make like he do his ASMR and you hear like each individual sound, and the way that he had it spliced up, every sound was very crisp and it was almost rhythmic, but it wasn't like it just, but I was like, you know, it'd be cool if you like made this rhythmic, you know, like if you just kind of like. And I remember having this idea, you know, late night, one of the nights, and I was like, I had this idea, and I was like, I just, you know, I had this thing, and Chuck was like, that's really cool, man. How do you think you want to do it? And I was like, to be honest, I have no idea. And he's like, you should just run it. Let's see what happens. And I'm like, you're right. And so one day I just put my phone and I just like, it was just all the stuff that I had, that all those videos are all from just my phone, and all the audio just came from my phone. And then I uploaded it and was like, all right, let's like try to figure out, you know, like I put an onion down or something that has kind of a big low end thump to it. We're going to make that a kick drum, or, you know, the sizzle from the pan is like a nice, like hi-hat, you know, like, and I'm like, okay, let's like, and it just kind of came together and it worked like pretty well. And like, I, you know, and it went better than I could have like imagined. And then like, I just kind of went from there of like, ooh, like how do we branch this out? Like, and I it's just like I nerd out and like, I've learned so many different things making it, but that was kind of what started was like I just kind of had this idea of like combining two things that I love and making something, and also like the silliness factor of it to me, like
Yes.
it makes me feel less serious when I'm doing it. At the end of the day, I'm like, well, this is literally just a song that's made from me smacking like a butt.
Meat.
Like,
Hey, you're beating your meat.
yeah. It's like if I can make noises from beating my meat, then I'm killing it at that point, sounds. I mean, I'm already making noises,
Yeah, yeah. Fap in, right?
So, so did you say fapping?
No, I said tap in. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Okay.
Did you have a question, Scotty? Do you have a
Yes, I
question?
do.
Yeah.
Jesus, y'all just threw me off. What was your obviously you're in this place where everything's starting to sound musical, like you can do something with it. What's your first aha musical moment? And what I mean by that is like, when was the first time you made something that actually sounded like music to you?
Like from Tasty Beats or just in general?
Fuck it, let's answer both of those questions.
Uh, you know, I feel like I'm like haunted by this moment when I was in like elementary school of like there was like a talent show in my music class and they're like, who's gonna go up and do something? And I just was like, fuck it, me, improv. But you have to be good at improv and music to improvise. You can't really just go up and be like, all right. I'll never forget. I was like, I called this song Volcano. It's just like a annoying ass me playing piano. And everyone's like, that's something, buddy. Good job. Like
Those are notes. Those are definitely notes. Yeah.
I think. So like, that was like, I was like, all right, so maybe not piano, haunted by that. And like drums, it just always was like, but it's just like I feel musically inclined. I mean, I'll never, it's like just in my head, I'm like, your heart has a beat. Technically, everyone has rhythm. But and that to me is like what inspires that pursuit of music. It's like you feel it. Everyone at the end of the day, if someone's like, I'm not musically inclined, I'm like, well, your heart has rhythm, so everyone's got rhythm.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that as in those very early months with Jay, I like when you're a baby, your first inclination is to find rhythm. It's to beat on something, and I mean, when he's 5 weeks old, 4 weeks old, is the first time I had that kind of same thought that you're talking about of like, oh wow, drumming might be the most like primal thing that's in us. I don't know. I love that. I love that train of thought. That's something I've thought about a lot. What about Tasty Beats? What was the first recipe that you were like, oh, this is good enough to show people?
What was it? I feel like my first Tasty Beat, I just was like, we're gonna go for it. And I think it wasn't, what was it? I feel like it was soup.
It was something soup related. I remember that.
I'm like, I don't even remember what it was, to be honest. It's like been my birthday 2022 was soup. I don't even know what soup it was, but it was a soup that I just was like, I'm making something, and I didn't really care at the point.
Oh, you know what it was? Mushroom risotto.
Oh, it was the mushroom risotto. That's exactly what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I'm like, it's funny even like going back because I haven't looked at a lot of these videos, and like I want to go back and steal some of these ideas from them. But so like that was, I think I just had, oh yeah, I went foraging for mushrooms, and so holidays was December 2021, and then like
Was it? Hold on. Was it? I don't want to let you keep doing that. The last holidays was 2019, wasn't it?
No, they did one after
They
COVID.
did do one.
There wasn't.
STS9 wasn't there.
Yeah, it was just like it was just the Biscuits.
Oh,
And
It was Mo. Mo was there too. Yeah.
No, Mo
Gotcha.
didn't show up. Lotus showed up instead of Mo.
Oh, okay. That worked out
Gotcha.
for you.
So
Yeah.
that was
Okay.
like, and I remember having this conversation. I'd say I had the conversation with Chuck about doing it, and he was like, well, you should just do it and let me know how it goes. And I was like, all right. And then like I went foraging for mushrooms in about, I think it was like April-ish, and I shot the stuff and was like, I have mushrooms. Let's just use what I got. And so I just like tried it out, tried to like, even in my head, I'm like, well, obviously you can kind of tell what sounds would be like what. But I just went with it. And it like ended up being, when I'm editing these sounds, I'm like, there's such a process, and the process keeps getting refined, and there's so many steps that goes into each one of these tasty beats, because it's like not only is it a recipe, it's a song, and then there's like video editing in it, then there's sound design that comes from it, and like so like as I keep progressing, you're like learning, like you can like, and like even when I'm like first doing it, like sometimes I'll listen to music because then I have like something to go off of, and like it's dangerous to try to like chop food at 120 beats per minute, but let's say
you can edit it to make it look like you're doing that. Yeah.
Let's just say 60 beats per minute, more reasonable, double it, speeds it up. And like, there you go. You got 120 beats per minute. And so like some of these, it's crazy because like I'll like go through these, and like when I first was doing it, I'm like, all right. And like, there's things that happen off camera that I don't even like know, but it's like picking up on my phone. Like I'll set a pan down, and just the way I set it down, like ka-tung, ka-tung. And then like in the video, like, and it'll like kind of create this like offbeat polyrhythm where it goes. And I'm like, oh, that sounds really cool. And then I'll have to like go through it and like look at it from like, look at the section. I'm like, where does that come into play? I like that. And then I'll like try to double it. I'm like, oh, it doesn't work. Well, why? Oh, it's on the and of 3. That's kind of crazy. Or like, so, and so it's just kind of like naturally happens. Cause like I'll try to like, I'm practicing learning like hibachi because like I'm like, this would be a cool way to do it like kind of live, like get some sounds, but it all just kind of comes naturally. It's like, it's hard to like, because I've talked to people that are like, you should try to do this live. I'm like, brother, I would cut my finger off if I was trying to. Shit. Like,
yeah.
Hibachi is one thing, you're like, but like when you're dicing onions, you can't just like, I'd be
yeah. That would be your last video, honestly, I think. Yeah.
I'd be like,
so I'm gonna
fucking Terry Garcia, yeah.
I'm gonna tweak one of the one of these questions that I have written down because you kind of touched on it. The original question was going to be if you could do a Tasty Beats dish inspired by a CS9, but it kind of sounds like you already do that. As you're kind of creating, you said you're oftentimes listening to music for inspiration. Are there any particular STS9 songs that have inspired direction of any of the Tasty Beats videos you've made so far?
That's also an interesting idea because what I was doing at the beginning was I was actually like not even listening to music. I just kind of put on a metronome to have something to go behind, and then like I would eat the dish, and then I kind of see how that made me feel. Like I'd be like, what does this dish how does this make me feel? And that would kind of like lead into like what the like song would be like, or I'd be like, I'm like, when I eat something, I'm like, what is this? How do I feel? Like, because I'm trying to figure out how to correlate the idea of taste and feel and like to sound and to even color and to like all your senses. How you trying to find this?
What are your ears tasting? Kind of like, yeah.
What is your nose hearing? Like,
and what are your taste buds hearing? Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
Going back to like one of the first things we learned in culinary school is like you eat with your eyes first, and I'm like, what if you ate with your ears? You know what I mean? Like there's something, but it's like, and it just kind of comes from like inspiration of like, you know, even like listening to that first one, which is funny that Bao Bun, that was episode 9. So like, wait, what soundtrack? But
And a sets by Scotty shirt. I got to get you the new logo, so you can make another one.
so like even like that, there's like I can tell where the sound came from, but it sounds like this bowl, and then like tuning that sound, it almost sounded like percussion. And as we talked about when it comes to like the most like primal thing about drums is like going back to where drums were created was like it was skin, it was animal skin used to like, you know, communicate. And that's why I'm so fascinated
Wow.
with percussion and live percussion is like the skin on skin contact is so primal, you know. And to me it's like,
Wow.
I think
I've never put this together until right now, and you just fucking rocked my world.
I mean, that was one
I'm
of
gonna.
even talking to Jeffrey, because I picked on their brain about like food even before I did Tasty Beats, was like, because I've been lucky enough to cook for my favorite artists. I've catered to Big Gigantic a few times before their Red Rock shows for rehearsals. Oh, Lotus at the Mishawaka, Motet, Sun Squabby, and like I've been so blessed to be able to be cooking for my favorite artists. And I remember picking Jeffrey's brain. I'm like, I want to cook for Soundtrap, and he's like, we're kind of picky, and I'm like, right, you know, what's
Yeah.
that? He's like, well, Hunter, this is a fun fact. Hunter doesn't like sauce, and I don't.
Because he is sauce.
He is the sauce. Yeah.
He doesn't need it. He's like, it's like, you know, people don't like sugar; they're sweet enough. But that's it's with. And when I remember talking to Jeffrey about that, I was like, I'd love to cook it for you, and he's like, yeah, we're a little picky, we're a little tricky. You know, we all like our different things. And I'm like, all right, for sure. And then he's like, yeah, Hunter just doesn't like sauce. And I was like, what does that mean? And he's like, I'm like, just like sauce? And he's like, yeah, just sauce. I'm like, that could be defined as like anything, you know? Like,
Yeah.
but I was like, that's all right, interesting, you know? And Jeffrey's favorite food is congee. So
I don't even know what that is.
I don't even know what the fuck that is. I was just about to say that.
it's like a rice.
Explain it for Scotty. I know what it is. Explain it for Scotty.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When you don't know what congee is, I had to look it up. You know, but it's like a rice porridge, basically. You know, but it's like it's like a Japanese thing, I believe, and like you put like dashi stock in it. It's very like simple, but it's very like, you know. And so like, because it's like that's only one of my things when I make food for people. I'm like, what's something that you like? You know, it's like everyone's always like, have you seen Ratatouille? Of course I've seen Ratatouille. That's like one of the best movies ever, you know, going back to like that, like the antagonist of the movie, the food critic, when he's like eats the Ratatouille and it brings him back to his childhood. I'm like, I'm trying to figure out that too, you know. It's like figuring out why art brings people to a certain feeling. It's like food is that same type of thing. How do I bring people back to this like state of mind? And it's like there's so many different ways. It's like, you know, yeah, you can make a burger, but like what if you made it taste like grandma used to make it with like the onion soup mix put into it, you know? Like it brings you back to these childhood moments that tap into something that you don't even. So like, you know, going back to that question, I mean, it's like it's so there's so many different, like I come at it in a different way every time, you know. Like there's times where I'm like, I'm gonna go into it, listen to a metronome, or I'm like, oh, like this dish has Jamaican roots, so maybe I try to find like a reggae type beat to it, you know, or like you know, if I'm making like a like a Hispanic dish, I want to try to find some like Latin rhythm sections for it, you know, just because it's like, why not? You know, I mean, that's kind of like,
I mean, that's part of the full circleness of the dish, right? And
yeah,
that's tying into just I guess the overall respect that you have for the two processes that you're trying to join, because there's so much heritage and history to all of these different cuisines that you're creating. And you know, music and food naturally go together anyway.
yeah,
And so, you know, why not tie the roots of that to the music that you're creating from this? I mean, I'm sitting like I was when we were interviewing Audio Angel. Like I was like a little kid, just like listening, you know. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, it's something you brought to the table there was no pun intended, people's differing feelings on things and people being picky about things, right? And we do want to get to the other clips that you had ready for us. And I think there might be some polarizing feelings about this song in this room right now. But you know what? You're bringing it to the table and you're going to make me eat it. So let's do it.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
Zach.
Man, I've talked a lot of shit about this song, but for my money, this is the one. This is the best one.
I mean, you want to talk about an underappreciated night of STS9? Read that set list real quick.
Ypres, Won't Meet in Our Dreams, which was the title of the run, and the first one with Alana. It had been teased early in the run, but this is the first full one. Arigato, Blue Mood, First Peoples with Alana, Love Don't Terrorize, The Rabble, Ramon. Okay, pretty good first set. Yeah, one of those first really funky Shock Doctrines, maybe the second one. This wasn't very long after the first show that you brought us to, Mitch.
Right.
And then instantly Hubble, the One a Day Sub ID remix, which we featured on our episode with Brad. That was fucking awesome. The best circus of all time. Rent into Sweet Dream.
Yep. Okay. I wanted you to say that part. That's the best Rent of all time too.
Whoa.
Oh,
That's
Red Barn.
crazy.
Yeah. Red Barn.
No, not even that one, bro.
Okay.
Chicago 23, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Rent, Sweet Dreams into Rent. That could be a whole episode, honestly.
Yeah, dude, I love this show. This shit was fucking electric.
Encore, Grizzly. I meant like the best Rent ever could be a whole episode. That'd be pretty funny.
For sure. We haven't done a single episode like that where we just run through the same versions of different versions of the same song.
Could do that. Encore, Grizzly, and Summer Angels into the second half of Breathe In, which I think they'd played the first half of it the night before. Mitch, yeah, talk us through this clip.
You know, that was one of the moments that I've been seeing STS9 since 2009, and like I always loved them. You know, I'm like, oh, I love this music, and it's still like it was something, but like it was pretty much around this time when I was like, when they came back with Alana, I was like, oh, nice, this is gonna be dope. And then like, you know, it's like anything, you're like shifting with a new band to have a new person, but then it's like it wasn't until like that run like that I started to like be like, okay, we're going like this is the band. This is the fucking it's like, and that I remember that because I didn't go New Year's Eve, and I was pretty bummed about that because I wanted to hear Summit. That's like a song I was chasing forever. And
yeah, I think I was at Cheese that night too. This is before I'd grown up.
God, fucking amateurs.
I went to Decadence like an asshole. I can't talk. I'm like, woo, this is so bad. I skipped the 1-1 show because I just didn't, you know. But that second night was amazing. The Trinocular, Nautilus, but
great Puma that night too. Yeah.
But this night, I remember. I will never forget being in the back during like the whole show, Smoke show. But this Circus, because like I'm like, oh, I love Circus. You know, it's a song that's like you hear it. It's like I love this song, but like I remember them going and they just kept going, and I was like, whoa. And I remember being in the back of the Fillmore, and like that Phipps come in and like it was just like
yeah.
patient with it. I was like, dude, they're just like, and then like it was like so beautiful, and then it just came into this like peak of like, I'm like, this is circus, and then it's like it's like I just remember like getting goosebumps and being like in the back, like, whoa, I have one of those like, oh my God moments. And then like right afterwards, it's just like, I'm like, whoo, like, let's settle down. Bam, bam. And it's just like, friend comes in. I'm like, oh my God, dude. And it's like, not only is it a fucking Rent, it's like fucking
20 minutes.
that shit. It was just like,
Yeah.
it's funny, like hearing these songs, like even when you played Really What, it's like I hear the songs and it's like because of like how I listen to this band, it's like I feel like it's almost like custom. The next part of After the Circus is Rent. It's like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hear
Yeah. It gets kind of rocky a little bit, like that. Like a totally different guitar rhythm than you've heard here on any other circus, for sure.
Like at the end of that, Really What, it just goes into boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I can't listen to these songs without hearing the song afterwards, and then I'm like, well, this whole set.
It's those 1-2 punches for sure. That like are those knee buckling moments where like you like, whew, all right, like you said, like you take a breath and it's like, nope.
Yeah, it's
like they're gonna hit you with the next one.
Let's like come back down to earth. Just kidding. You're like, it's a trampoline that you're landing on, and you're going back into the stratosphere. You're like, woo, and then you come back down. Your friend's like double bounce, and you're like, oh shit, and it's like even further. It's unbelievable.
Oh, breathe in firewall. Hey.
Then the second half of Breathe In, I'm like, you guys are. I love when they've done that with Breathe In. I remember 2012, one of my favorite runs.
They did the sandwich, right?
It was like they opened up with Breathe In, and back then I was like, man, this band's starting to suck, and I was kind of like set with it. So I'm like, all right, we're like Murph's just getting rid of his bass, I guess, and I'm like, I guess I'll go night one of this run, and it's like open up with Breathe In. I'm like, okay, I like Breathe In, and then like Just Kidding, Monkey Music. I'm like, wait. At first I was like ready to be like, you bastards, and I'm like, okay, all right, Monkey Music, okay, like. And then it was like Monkey Music with like Ramon teases, and that set list night one was like one of the best set lists I've ever seen by them. And then like the next night was average, and then night three was trash. And I'm like, all right, well, here we go. This is what they're doing, And so when like this run came, I was like, wow, like Alana and this band, they just have this sound that I just can't get. Like so, like the songs that I send you, they come to mind just because they're ones that even when I'm like, what do I want to listen to? Well, let's just run it back to a song I've listened to 1,000 times. If there was a band wrapped at the end of the year, it'd be like, you need to stop listening to this song, buddy.
You listen to 3 songs this year. No,
for
like
8 days.
But no, I mean at this point they're getting back to delivering every night, and not like sure they still have their off nights, but they're much farther and fewer between. But we talk about like looking for a sound, like getting back into tasty beats, right? Do you ever cook specifically for a sound, like choosing an ingredient that'll make a certain kind of pop, like crunch or sizzle or something like that?
Yeah, what's actually what I'm doing right now. So what I'm doing, because I got a new camera at the middle of summer, I think. And it's like learning a new instrument. I bought a new camera with a boom mic so I can really capture more sounds, because like everything was just on my phone. And I'm trying to take a different approach, and it's like, I mean, it's been a few years, honestly, since I've like really been actively releasing stuff, and like, I am coming back with more stuff at Halloween. I'm just releasing a video with all of my old stuff on my phone, and like I have this folder which I call my pantry, and
hell yeah.
So going back to like the idea of like specific sounds making specific things, I realized that it's like, when you're shooting, and like I'm learning so many different processes like shooting with cameras, but like to stay on this topic, it's like I don't need to film me cutting an onion every single time. Like it's like the onion's gonna make the sound,
Right.
It's like more or less the slicing. So I have it in my folder where it's like there's an onion, and then there's like small dice, medium dice, large dice. So like
Red onion, white onion, yellow onion.
so if a recipe calls for something, instead of just shooting it again and just adding more gigabytes of memory, I'm like, well, I already have this. Let's just use that. And it's kind of like just like I would in a kitchen. I'm like, all right, like in a, I'm like, well, what do we have? Well, we have diced onion. Let's make this into the recipe. It's kind of going into the same things in my songs. So like,
right.
Even when I'm like, and some of that, sometimes I'm like listening and like even that bao bun, I'm like, what was that? That was a bowl. I set the bowl down. I'm like, ooh, what if I like figured out where these things come from? Because it's like that's one of the creative things of like coming up with these sounds. It's like, being into music and like all the people that actually do music production, like I don't have the fucking patience to sit here and listen to hours of kicks, so boom, 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 and I'm like, this is fucking obnoxious. How about I make it and just like all I have is this sound. Let's turn this sound into something, and like a lot of those, because I mean that's one of the things that people don't really understand about Tasty Beats is that, they're like, oh, so like even trying to explain it, they're like, oh, so like all these sounds, like when I have my thing plugged in, they're like, oh, so all these sounds are in the onion. I'm like, no, you're not gonna put it into a sound. And they're like, wait, is this? It's Etta James. That's crazy that is storing Etta James. It's like that's not how the world works, buddy. This is just like, it's like it's not how it's not how any of this works. And it's like, but I'm trying to make videos to explain the process. When an onion hits something, it's like thump.
Yeah.
But if you speed it up, it makes it more high pitched because it's playing that sound a little bit faster. So then you can like tune these things, or like I try to make sounds out of my voice where I'm like, let's do and then put some like make dubstep, whatever. It's like
right.
And it comes, I have to be creative, and like even like writing recipes, I'm like, if I made a recipe that's all liquid, it's gonna be kind of hard to figure out how to make it sizzle or like give it.
Yeah.
It's like so there's creative, like, I mean, every recipe, it all comes from certain things. Like it all just comes from, you're limited too. And that's like, how do I make a song with such limitations? And that's what makes it really fun.
Right.
So on that note of, I'm gonna switch this question up a little bit too, knowing what you just told us. I originally it was gonna be, what's the hardest sound you've kind of been able to capture in the kitchen? Now that you've got a new boom mic, though, are you finding more sounds to play with now that you have nicer equipment to catch more in the process?
It's more actually just finding a better way, because when you're looking at like mixing and EQing, the an iPhone microphone picks up like the whole room kind of, so like when you're trying to like bring up a certain frequency, the other stuff you have to like kind of dull down, whereas like it's kind of just making it easier just to like hone in on one specific part, and so actually one sound that I was pretty proud of was, I've always found like it's easy to make a kick drum, a hi-hat, a snare, even like white noise, I'm just using steam and like stretching it out, and but the one that I was pretty proud of was like, I was like determined to try to do was making a crash cymbal. And I'm like, all right, how does a crash cymbal look on like, when you're looking at the wave file, like how does it look? And like there's a sharp transient followed by like this, it goes away, so I'm like, all right, how do I figure that out? And so like I was like, I'm going to use steam as like the tail end of this sound. I'm going to use this sound, and like I layered certain sounds to make a crash cymbal with like delay, and like I was like, wow, like to me that was a pretty proud moment, because I'm like, I don't have a crash cymbal. There's not a crash cymbal in a kitchen. I mean, maybe if I broke something or but
or, yeah, you just put a crash cymbal in the kitchen, you could do that, but no, it's not natural. But
too, it's like it's more of a challenge for myself. It's like, sure, I could have this in there and be like, boom, or like, but it's more of like, it is more of like just me learning and understanding how sound design comes from and works in that realm. Cause it's like, I don't have patience to sit here and listen to all these samples that are like, I'm like, oh, here's an 808. That's cool. But what if I made something that's like
Right.
organic, that's like literally organic, like actually like I found and I grew or I created. I have a garden and there's that I have a video where I pick a pepper off of the garden and it's like just that's I'm like, ooh, hi-hat,
Yeah. This next one I want to share, I think it showcases pretty much a lot of the different examples that you're talking about here with the steam and like the picking the pepper off. So let's take a look at crispy rice salmon poke tacos. God, I'm glad I ate before this episode.
We got crispy rice, poke tacos. Mmm.
Let's go.
We're back. We're back. We got crispy rice, poke tacos.
Woo! Well, drum and bass breakdown there, but is that what you're talking about? That creating the crash symbol out of that steam and kind of like backwards engineering it there?
For that one, I think that was more of just like the building like risers, what the term is like the like
Yeah, the whooshes, the whirs, yeah, the hand sonic.
like it's like a quick little like impact, and I learned throughout like shooting some of those videos, even that one, I was like, wait, what happened? Why did it just like stop? And I'm like, oh yeah, I just kind of like it was like, Bill, just kidding, and then it like goes away. And I'm like, what, but I remember like shooting these videos, and that was like it kind of had made me kind of take what I learned about culinary and like time management. Because when you're making food, you're like, okay, I'm gonna start this right now. While this is going, I got 5 minutes to work on this, and there's all these different things. I had to completely like change that because you can't cook something on the stove and it's making this sizzling sound while I'm trying to cut the things. So I have to like do all of my prep beforehand. So that's like I have a section where I'm just shooting all the like cutting and the prep, the mise en place and all that stuff before I even do the cooking part, because then all those sounds will overlap. And I remember I've like done that, and it's taken, it's just an interesting way to like relearn how to do something, because it's not what I'm trained to do, but it's crazy. And so I think about sounds all the time, and even sometimes like I was opening up a jar and there was like air in it and it like made this like boom, and I was like, I'm so glad I got that on camera. And sometimes like the camera's rolling and I'm like kind of saying some things that I'm like, whoa, buddy, what are you doing in your kitchen? Like, and I'm like, that's kind of funny though. Let's put that in there. It's like cameras rolling. Let's fucking run it.
So what other tools are you using to make to make everything that you're putting together for your video? Obviously now you got a camera, a boom mic. What other technology goes into a Tasty Beat?
So I use Ableton for a lot of the sound, actually a lot of the video editing, to be honest. It's like it's so much easier. I've never actually like, I need to actually start using because my last two videos I was trying to switch things up and film it or in a more horizontal, like wide frame, just to like, because I want to start posting on YouTube and all the different formats. But it's a whole other ball game of like, I'm not like, video editing it's different. Like I'm like, it's crazy for me to be able to do what I'm doing. But like now I need to figure out how to like have it so it's on a phone, because I'm like, I'm gonna start posting. I'm gonna have my YouTube channel. I'm gonna have different videos that aren't just Tasty Beats, but like it's learning how to like, so I'll have Adobe Premiere to like do the final editing things, to spread things out, Ableton, and pretty much just like, yeah, the mic and my camera. Before it was just my phone and using Ableton, and that was all I used. And like now I bought a new camera, and like, it's just a night and day difference, like looking at the quality. And like, but then it's a whole other thing of learning. Like it's a new instrument where I'm like, before I'm like, phone, cinematic mode, woo, all right, we're easy, where it's like now I'm like, okay, I have to learn about exposure and frame rates. And it's like, then like, even with you putting this on YouTube and putting it on Instagram, it's like, like I get to this point of like, that's like the monotonous stuff that I don't love doing, because I'm like,
Yeah.
Right.
it's like, all right, now let's spend like hours formatting it for Instagram and for TikTok.
Yep.
Like, oh, I only have the patience to do it for Instagram, and then I'm like, I barely have that. And I'm like, I just don't want to do it, and it's like it gets to that point of like, and that's kind of why I took a break from like doing it so much, because like I wasn't cranking it out as much as I would have liked to. I meant daily, but I try to. I didn't want it to become like a job, and I like try to catch that before in the early stages, where it's like there's so many artists that are like, I don't want to keep making this every week, like it just feels like work. But like, and then like I would feel like I put pressure on myself, and it's someone made a funny comment to me where they're like, or no, it was actually just me in one of my videos where I'm like making something and I'm like, that's so good. I'm like, actually, you don't know if it's good. It could taste like shit. I could just be lying to you. You're not gonna like, are you gonna make this? Like, but in my head, I still am like, even the other day, I was trying to make this pasta and I was like, oh, like this doesn't taste good. I'm like, well, no one's tasting it. Like,
Yeah, just tell them it tastes good.
It's
for TV.
This recipe is the best, but like at the time, I'm like, oh, I kind of butchered this, or like, but
it's like in like cooking shows where like they put it in the oven, like then they take the one that's done, that's out there. Like,
yeah,
holy
like,
shit, it's that easy.
Yeah, it's like, oh, and it's and I hold myself to that account for myself, because it's like I just, I just want to be authentic. That's part of that's my biggest thing when I come to, even like watching some of these cooking people. I hate this accent that these Instagram foodies have, like, let's make this today. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. You talk like that normally? I'm like, I would want to be your friend. I think one of the best like videos where I sounded the most like comfortable is when I'm like, I was kind of drunk. I even said that in the video, I was like, I'm kind of drunk. I was like, oh. But it's like literally trying to find your voice of like, what do I do? And I'm like, I really don't care. It's at the end of the day, I'm making music out of food. It's silly, and I don't want to take it as too seriously, because that's
So on that note, I'm curious for both answers. So when you were doing on your phone, how long from start to finish would you say one video took? And it sounds like you've got some videos in the tank right now with the new equipment. So has that shortened or lengthened because of the learning process? I know I went, like, for example, with mine, when I got my laser machine, I thought like, oh, because I'm not stamping anymore, it's going to take so much less time, but you find time to put into it. And so I'm just curious how what's the difference in terms of time?
So what with some of the videos that I've actually like had, I was trying to like, because I have like multiple phones for like old phones that I just like, that I have like kept, that I'm like, well, I don't have a use for this. Well, I could like shoot it from a different angle.
Yeah,
pause
time lapse it or whatever. Yeah.
But the problem that I've found with that was like every phone shoots from a different quality, and then when
Ah,
it doesn't translate super well with Ableton, because then like I think in one of my like last videos, one of the things just literally flips upside down, and I'm like, why is it doing this? And I'm like, it doesn't, because it's like the Ableton wasn't really, it's not really meant for video editing like completely, you know. It's like you have Adobe Premiere, and I'm like, well, I don't really have time to learn that because that's a whole other like process, and I'm like, I'm already figuring this out. And so it's actually, and even like shooting these videos, because like with my camera, I'm like trying to be a little bit more intentional with like every shot, you know, like every shot is like I'm trying to be a little bit cinematic, you know. It's like when a director shoots, there's symmetry. Like, you know, if I was sitting on like the side of this camera right now, you'd be like, why is he over there? You know, people like symmetry. So you're even like having that mentality when you're shooting, like, where do you want this to be placed? You know, like, where's this camera? And I've been like, I spend every week, I feel like I buy something new. I'm like, all right, I need another battery in case this battery dies halfway through. I need to buy another SD card, and I need to buy an extension cord. I need more lights. And like this time, I'm like buying new lights, and it's like coming together in a way that. So it's, yeah. So to go back with the phone, that process, it's so hard for me to answer that, because like you come up with a food idea. There's the brainstorming part, food idea. All right, now you need to come up with a recipe for it. Then you need to go to the store and get it. Then you need to get the stuff ready and you prep all of it. Then you cook it and you shoot it. And then you go through and you pick out all the sounds from it. And like what I was doing was like I would just film myself 15-minute long videos. And trying to edit a 15-minute long video is just kind of a, it's a like it takes a long time. You're like turns like this thing into just shorter. And at the end of it, you only have this little like small section. You're going through trying to find all the things.
right.
And then that's the next part. And then the next part from that is organizing it in order of how it gets done when I'm doing it. So like, you know, you start with your cutting of the vegetables and you're cooking, and then like also like maybe moving this to like that's when this goes in the oven, things like that, so that if people were watching and trying to actually like follow along to like cook it, you know, it needs to be like organized in that timeline, and then making it rhythmic, and then the fun part is when I'm like, let's make sounds out of these things. So it can take, if I didn't have ADD, maybe I would be able to get it done in a day, you know? But also realistically, like sometimes I'm like I like having fun with it and just being like spending hours just like tinkering and like, you know, and I think that's something that I'm like, as I'm when I come back, I will start releasing more videos weekly, and instead of like taking so much time, like I learned one new thing from this last one, new song, because actually with all my stuff I do want to create full length songs that go with everything, and even like make a live improvisation of me using this instrument that I built to uh, play them and make it even crazier. So it just depends. With the camera, it actually helps a lot because I like, because of how intentional I am. Like instead of trying to edit a 15-minute long video, I'm only editing like a 10-second clip or like a 20-second clip, and it's a little bit easier. But it's tough to say exactly like it does help the process, but it's also like just with anything, like if you put a lot of preparation into making a dish and you spend a whole day cutting everything, then the cooking process is super easy. And this kind of goes with like the tasty meat. If everything that takes a long time from the start, if everything's done correctly, then the next part is going to be a little bit more smooth. So
Right.
I can't say that it does help, but it's also like a new beast learning a new video editing thing to it, how to make these
Sure.
things. So it's like once I like start getting into the rhythm of it, it's going to be a lot easier.
Well, let's talk about getting into the rhythm of it and changes in time. And that takes us to the next clip that you curated for us. I like how we're alternating these tasty beats and STS9 clips. We're going back to the May the 4th show at the Brooklyn Bowl in Vegas for this one. I take great pleasure in pulling the ripcord sometimes. Ah, um, yeah, Mitch, you had pointed out as this orbital in particular, the intro to it being something that you go back to all the time. Is it the kind of unique rhythm of this one, or what about this one stands out to you?
You know, there's something about like, because I feel like when you listen to some old orbitals, it's like this insane drum and bass right off the bat, and like this one just like had this like, especially with Zach doing like the like like getting into it and then just like stop
Yeah.
and then like
Yeah,
comes
when he
back.
cuts. Yeah.
There's
Mhm.
also this same year, this other orbital, which I was almost gonna send from Crossroads, Kansas City. It's like the same thing. It starts out with that boom, boom, and then boom, like goes like he keeps jumping back into drum and bass. Right,
Yeah.
it comes like right back, and you're just like, ooh, like
Then
uh,
he hits you with the like the kick drums. The
yeah, dun, dun, dun,
like,
yeah, like, and you're just
yeah.
like, oh, um, like this run in particular is, I mean, this set list when they spelt "The Force Will Be with You" in the set on
Yeah.
4th. And then they got the Star Wars teases and Circus. This rent is also an insane rent. But this show and this run specifically, this is when they announced the first wave spell.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The run's
Yeah.
tied all in, and this was the one where I'm like, I'm all in, baby. Like, this is the band, because it's like 2014, 15, I was like, this is it. And then like 2016, I was like, all right, they're like they're in this like ebbs and flows of everything. I'm like, oh, this is good stuff. Like I'm enjoying it. But then like 2018, I was like, okay, I'm all in. I'm back in. Like like I'm
Yeah.
putting all in on this band. And I think that year, those 2 years, 2018, 2019, is when I think I saw them 25 plus times, and I was like, this is it. This is all I give a shit about. Like this band.
Those were I think mine and Scotty's two biggest years as well. And I mean that's when the good was getting. There was a comment on Bandcamp from Reed Emergence on this show. You talked about Hidden Hand, Hidden Fist and how both Skywalkers lost their hands.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was a little nugget. And you know
Oh.
that that's on purpose for sure. I mean,
That's fucking crazy.
Imperial Death March definitely works really well with Hidden Hand, Hidden Fist, but there's got to be a little bit of connection to that too.
Wow.
I remember that first night was so intentional with all the Star Wars themes, and I'm like, wow, that's so cool that they're doing this. And I remember like the Star Wars coming out of like Circus, I was like, wow. And then like night 2 was Cinco de Mayo, and all the songs. First set were 5 letters, second set was 10 letters, and I was like, oh. And then like night 3 was just like, oh, we're just gonna play really, really good. And I was like, holy
Yeah.
shit. Like,
An insane 3-night run. I really hope they go back to the
oh,
Brooklyn Bowl at some
yeah.
point. That place is so cool.
Yeah.
Um,
And that run was something for sure. I miss Squish.
so
I always miss these songs because I'm like often doing my shit, and then I'm like come back, I'm like, oh, they played Squish Face. I'm like, why do I keep leaving? What?
they're gonna get to everything you want eventually, I think. But um getting into like your own creative zone when you're in that creative zone, do you feel like more like a chef or more like a producer? Do you feel like those lines have completely blurred now?
I think they're blurred. Um, they're they're pretty blurred. It's like chef. I think when I'm in both zones, it's like two halves of my brain. When I'm in like when I'm shooting food, I'm not thinking musically. I'm thinking
How do I
culinary.
make this taste good, right?
Thinking of like I'm thinking of like visually, and I'm working with those types of senses, and like kind of like the sounds, but then like the musical part is that's when like you're combining these two things that don't really like they pair together, but it's like you're not like I saw this one Instagram person named like Upbeat Eats, I think is what his name is, and like he does cooking videos, but he has music playing over it. But it's like him just like vibing to like California Love, and I'm like, right, and it's you know, it's an interesting like concept. I mean, music goes, it's like in my, I remember working in kitchens and some of like, when I worked with kitchens and they're like, no music, I'm like, that's how I find my flow state, you know, when you're,
Yeah.
I'll never forget, I was working in a kitchen and one of my friends, he was the one that taught me how to like really cook a steak really well. His name's Jamie. But I remember putting on Humphreys, like Red Rocks, and I remember like he never listened to Humphreys, and we're both just like fucking going, dude. Like we're just like in it, you know, fucking like fire and just like going. It's like Humphreys is like like this service is like coming down, dude. It's like we're like going into battle, and then it's like at the end of the set, I just remember he's like at the end of service, almost timed well with like the music. He was like, "Whoa, that was intense!" Like that music, like really just like fired us up. And I'm like, yeah, you know, it's like, and that's kind of like it's like you're fighting this, you know, with anything, any type of artistic expression can be boiled down to like a flow state, like why you're doing it when you're like in this zone. And that's why like there's times where like I listen to music, then there's times where I don't listen to music, but then I'm like, I like listening to music because it's like it kind of just keeps me, it keeps me moving, you know, it keeps me like going into like what I'm doing. And like, you know, I love a perfectly timed pan flip to like the one, you know, whoop, bam, you know, like I'm like, ah, you know, it's like open E, oh, down, and then
Then there's a
Hit
grease
flame, it's
fire.
like,
Yeah, there's a grease fire in the kitchen. Yeah.
the lights go all red. It's really just a fire going on, you know. Oh, the fire department.
So you talked about other artists kind of in this sound meets taste world. If you could collaborate with another artist or creator kind of in that realm, anybody you have in mind?
This is a long shot, but Benny Blanco.
Hell yeah.
Just because
Sick.
that dude is a music producer and he makes food. Like he has like an Instagram channel where he just like he makes he just makes food in his kitchen. And I'm like, I'd love to like pick his brain and be like, let's collaborate and make something. And like there's this one dude also, rapping chef, uh who just like makes food, but he like raps over it. It's god awful, but it's like he's got like millions of followers, and it's like, you know, but like I like to do something with him.
Not exactly a strong first step in that direction.
He knows it's not like you know, he knows it's not. I mean, he's got to know. You know, I feel bad if he's like, I'm putting I got this. I'm like, you're like really tone deaf, brother. But like, all right.
Win a fucking Grammy. Holy shit.
but like it's fascinating to watch. You know, he's just like, I'm making beats and then we put it to the eats, and it's like, you know, it's like it's silly, but like I would love to do something with him. And also like just normal producers that I got. You know, I have there's a lot of producers that I've talked to. I even talked to Dominic Lally from Big Jug A. I'm like, I have an idea. I'm like, I would love to do something with you. And he's like, I love it. Just if you come up with like what you want to do, let's do it. And like I've even talked to like Kevin from Sun Squad. I remember the Sun Squad just asked me to do one together. Like, let's all do one. And I'm like, how would I even orchestrate this? Is like the part that's tricky. And that's where like right now I think what I'm doing with my pantry of sounds and will makes it a little bit easier, because it's like, you know, it's a multiple day process. You know, you like you're making food and then you're like, then it's the editing part, you know, and then it's making the music part. So it's like, what if like some of this stuff is already kind of done? Then we can be like, here's the sounds. Now let's make like your favorite dish, you know? And like, so I have these ideas of collaboration, and it's more of just like figuring out how I can tap into the execution that's the part I'm working with. But like, I'm like, how would I don't want someone to come over to my kitchen. I'm like, cool, let's make a sound or a song, but we're also going to make this food. And then they're kind of standing in the corner like, I don't know how to make food. And I'm like, I don't know. All right, well, let's figure it out, you know. And there's the awkward, you know, I'm like, how much time do we have? You know, that's one.
Yeah, there's the people who are really good at eating food, like Action Bronson too, you know, and he's in that world. Like,
oh yeah. So there's a lot of like, I mean, this goes, you know, right now it's like I have so much more than just making videos of turning food into music. I want to put on eventually I want to put on like a 10-course dinner that is everything. It's a 5 sensory experience that you're like, there's songs and lights and everything's playing together, and that's one of my biggest goals that I'm working towards. And it all just comes down to action and learning about it. Like, yeah. So there's a lot of collaboration that I had plans on doing. It's also taking like learning. It's not even a skill set that I've like even fully nailed yet. I'm like, all right, I can do this, but then it's like I'm in the room with somebody, and I'm like, all right, now we're gonna cut this. Do you want to cut it? You can't cut an onion. You're gonna cut yourself. What can you do? Like,
Maybe they can wrap the bacon around this stuffed pork tenderloin of this last Tasty Bits tasty
Tasty bits.
tasty beats clip that I'd like to share with everyone here. I think this is one of your favorite recipes as well.
Pork tenderloin, stuffed with goat cheese and bacon and dates, sauce, whole ass meal. I'm a chef, bitch. Sauce, whole ass meal, bitch. Sauce, whole ass meal. I'm a chef. Whole ass meal. Sauce, whole ass meal. Bitch, 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 bitch. Bitch, 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 stuff with goat, bitch, 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 stuff with goat, bitch, 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 stuff with goat, bitch, 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 stuff with goat, bitch, sauce, bitch, 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 sauce, bitch, 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 stuff with goat, stuff with goat, bitch, 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 sauce, bitch, 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 sauce, pork tenderloin, stuff with dates and goat cheese. I mean, come on. I'm a chef, bitch.
Oh wow, more vocal heavy track there, huh?
I remember. I think I did that because I forget someone. I've had multiple people that are like, I don't know. They're just more. They're like, like I love your stuff, but I feel like you cuss a lot, and I'm like, yeah, I ain't seen anything yet, baby. Like,
Just you fucking wait, right?
it happens in the kitchen. I remember my mom was like watching The Bear, and she's like, "Is that what it's like?" I'm like, "Yes." And she's like, "Wow, I had no idea." I'm like, "Why do you?" I cry all the time in the freezer, like. It's not like it's not PG. If you walked back like, hey, we'll watch the show, it's like fuck, 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 fuck. It's like that's just how it is, and that one, I think I made a point to be like, I'm gonna put cuss words in this and just really add it to like the rhythm, playing that video dogs at the end of it, and like that's something that I also struggle with is like my neighbor's dogs are always outside, and I'm like shooting during the day, and then my phone will pick up the dogs in the background. So that's like
I thought I heard that outside my window, so that was in the video.
That's funny. And it's like, so it's I'm always battling when like what time of the day do I shoot? It's like these dogs are outside and they're barking. My dogs are barking.
My dogs are barking.
Well,
it's you gotta ice those puppies.
I mean, it plays in really well to the video. I didn't catch it. I just saw it as another sound. What's your go-to comfort dish when you're not filming?
Honestly, that's a good one. I think it depends. I love simplicity. I think when I'm not filming, I just want something that I can just throw together, and I love a good grilled cheese. I like burgers. I have my Blackstone, so I love making smash burgers because I'm like, I don't really have to do very much. I can just like have this ready. Um, it's something that my go-to if I'm not filming is simplicity. It's just something that's like I don't have to try very hard to make, and I just kind of throw things to. Oh no, fried rice. There it is. That's actually it. Yeah, fried rice. That's the one. Because
Okay.
that is my easiest thing, because it's like day before I'm shooting, I'll make a bunch of rice, and then like for the next week, I'm like salmon fried rice, bacon fried rice, pineapple fried rice. It's just like I'll just pull out my wok, and it's just like I just throw things together, and that's probably my favorite comfort dish. Is just because it's just easy and warm and inviting.
Well, this next clip is inviting, but it's certainly not simple. So we'll get into our last STS9 clip now, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it after that.
And then just
Nice and
right back
simple.
into unquestionable after that one. Yeah, just really simple stuff here. Comfort food, right?
Bristol Tucson's the real fried rice of the catalog.
It's just like a warm bowl of soup, on a
Couldn't really hear you.
like a warm bowl of soup on a winter day. It's like
Man, this
easy.
You're
This whole
spilling
show.
warm hot soup all over your lap, I guess. Yeah.
It burns around my face.
this was like a Tuesday show, wasn't it? Like a Tuesday or Wednesday deal.
Yeah. And I ask myself every day. I even wanted to ask them at Camp Elster. I'm like, so what's up with Dallas? Like why did you guys just be like, Wednesday, let's just play this show to end it all? And I'm like, this is the one I wish I was there.
Yeah. Dude, this whole run is one I missed out on, where it's like you look at these shows and you're like, what the fuck?
So you weren't at this run.
No, this is like, most of the songs that I send you are like ones that I've been to, but this is this show. If someone was like, what's one show that you like, if you could trade a show you've been to go tell me this right here, no question. Like this is like top to bottom, like holy shit. But like that Crystal Unquestionable, because like that Unquestionable goes off into like a Crystal jam, and then you're like, holy shit, and it's like going off, going crazy, and then they like comes back into Crystal, like, oh wow, it's just a Crystal sandwich, and then they're just like, we ain't done though, and then they're like, oh, okay, brother, like if I was there, I'd probably good I wasn't there. I probably would have had a heart attack.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
this going back to what I said in the intro about I just loving how your brain works. You're the first person to bring a clip from a show you haven't been at.
Yeah, and this is one that like I go back to.
I love this.
I think that's a good topic. If they pick a show that you weren't at that you could trade one for, it has to be a good one for this one. And just running through it, F word opener, God, we fucking love that. And it was like a sped up F word too, because it went into EHM, kind of like the drum and bass. Kaya instantly into Grow. Light Years 2 into Roy G. Biv. That I think that might be my favorite Roy G. Biv from this one here. Be Nice. All right, that's the end of set 2. Then you get basically 2 show openers with each set. Then a Be Nice opener into Crystal Instrument, into Unquestionable, back into Crystal Instrument, and then they finish that back into Unquestionable. And then the Spectacle into Hubble, into Freak 123, into Rent. Yeah. And then the encore, Love Don't Terrorize into Only Light Remains into Love Don't Terrorize.
And I might be like in the, that's the part I don't actually listen to. I usually skip that encore. Actually, I like those songs, but like it's like all heat, and then they're like, and then this is a pretty decent encore. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. That was fine, but like,
right, it's all really pretty old songs aside from Light Years, I guess.
like
up until you, yeah, up.
And like here's a dessert that's like, it's not a made in house tiramisu, but it'll do.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I think there's something to be said about the show that it's standing next to too, right? I mean, even up to this point, this had kind of started to become special. This only like this sandwich of songs together, but placement is very important too. Nate and I always joke about the night 2 of Belly Up, after everything they did with the full Gob Nugget for like the first time in 5 years. They did a Looking Back on Earth before the end of this first set. And sometimes you're like, yeah, fuck yeah, I love this song, but for what? Like, what are we doing? We don't need to do this right now. And yeah, I think that's probably the best take on that encore, is that most other times you're pretty excited about that, but for this show it does feel a little weird.
When
go ahead.
Bands, I remember like even Zach will be like, I think it was like one of their recent like posts on Instagram. He's like, we're so intentional with like our set lists and like all these things. And like, I see that in a lot of ways. And then there's sometimes where I'm like, what Why was that there?
Yeah.
You know, they're like, here's a really old school banger. You're like, wow. And
Yeah.
followed by balancing. And you're like, but where are we going with that? Like maybe that's like the joke is that they're balancing, you know, they're like,
True.
like
I think the prime example is like that one Red Rock like where it's the Presence of Light encore where it's like what like,
Well,
what?
and you got to imagine that sometimes they're in on the joke. I mean, like, good God, can we be an annoying group of people?
probably
Yeah.
And
annoying, to be honest.
yeah, and they're in on the joke. They're in these groups, and so I'm not mad at a little bit of giving you a little taste of your own medicine. Like we like to play it, so we're gonna play it in a prominent spot in the show. And so what?
But I can also understand too, like if I was in their shoes of touring and being like, let's make a new set list every day. Like, I mean, I had to do that. So I can't talk shit because I remember what I used to do a private chef thing where I made a new menu every week or every,
Yeah.
and you're like banger, 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 and then I'm like, I don't know what. I'll just throw in a meatloaf, and then of the my set list. I remember I was
It's
like,
like ketchup forward dish, yeah.
put so much thought and effort into all these crazy dishes, and then I'd be like, let's just be like meatloaf and potatoes. And they're like, dude, that meatloaf was unreal, and I'm like, what? Like the thing that I put the least amount of effort in is like the thing that you're like going
Right.
for, and it's like so I can understand how being like, we got this run, and then you're like, these songs could go into this song, and then you're like, what should we have out of this? I don't know. This would be a cool one. Like, yeah, fine. It's like they all cannot. That just wouldn't happen. Like they can't just.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, all the set lists would have to like be tailored the same way. Because there's certain songs that go well together, and there's certain.
Sure.
It's like
It would get too predictable. You wouldn't know exactly what was coming, but you kind of would.
like I'm always hoping that the next time they play Falling, they'll do the Satori part because that I remember what show it was. I think it was the Eastern. They did those songs. It went Falling and then Satori afterwards.
Okay. So they like drew back on that. They're like,
night one of the Eastern, I think.
Yeah.
Was yeah.
So it was like Falling and then Satori. I remember like when they played that, I was like, where did I hear this before? And I'm like, oh, it was from the Eastern, but they didn't mash them up.
right.
And, like when they mashed them up, I'm like, okay, because I remember at Camp Elsewhere, I was talking to Hunter about because he had his whole sample thing, and everyone's just going up being like every time, every time, every. He's just like Jesus Christ, cut it out. He's like, then you're like matching up the drums for like Out of This World with like Instantly and like all these things, and he's like, this is kind of how we do it. He's like, we have this like grid of like our songs, and then you kind of just put them there like, what if we did this? And I'm like, that's a great way to figure that stuff out. Because like in me, would I be like, what would make sense? Hear me out. Crystal Instrument, Unquestionable Supremacy is amazing. Like, I don't know.
Like you're in a boardroom, yeah. You're just John Hamm with the easel behind you.
Like, hear me out. I know this might sound crazy. What if we took pineapple and we put it on pizza? And then you're like, brother, get out of here. And then you're like,
yeah.
Rant. Like, you have to leave.
I think this brings us to the next question really well. Like, as a fan and a creator, what do you think is something that you think people overlook or underappreciate about STS9's art, whether it's their sound, visuals, or message, or anything like that?
I've had some people. I have a friend that's like, and I've had this conversation with one of my best friends about STS9. Is like, from a musician standpoint, sometimes their songs are so simple, but this also goes back to food. Some of the best food and some of the best menus that I've ever had are simple because they put so much thought into each individual section. There's a restaurant up in Fort Collins that used to be there called Aloha, and it was a very small menu, but I remember talking to the owner who actually passed away a few years ago, but he gave me all of his recipes. And I remember talking to him about it, and he's like, I think that having a simple menu, you put more effort into everything. And I think that people, that are like some of Soundtribe's music can be like, like open E. It's literally an open E. That's the
Right.
but like it's not about that. It's they put something, there's so much into it. There's so much backing behind it that like even I over like a grilled cheese. A grilled cheese is so good, but what if a grilled cheese could be 4 ingredients? Fuck, it could be 3 ingredients: bread, cheese, butter, or mayo. It's about how well you do it, and then it's the best thing you've ever tasted. And it's the same thing with Soundtribe. I think that like their music, to some people, the most simple things that they do blow my mind. I like there's like a improv where it's just like Phipps playing these 3 notes over and over again, but it's just like the way that he does it has so much intention behind it that it just like I can't help but be like, oh my God, I could like, it's like it's not going to be like fucking crazy scales, but like it's the way that they do it that I think is why it's, to me, the best music ever created. I mean, at the end of the day, there's only 12 musical notes, so it's like, well, what are we trying to do? Multiply it? It doesn't make sense.
I mean, fuck yeah, dude. Well, Mitch, thank you so much, man. We got some this or that's for you, some kind of quick hit questions. I know you've listened to the podcast, so you probably heard us do this before. We got kind of a fun little spin on it for you. These aren't just STS9 related questions, so we'll start off with an old classic: cast iron or stainless steel?
Oh, cast iron.
Cast iron. D&B or funk?
Funk.
Fried or smoked?
Fried.
Okay. Axe the cables or wave spell?
Oh, fuck. Waves.
My man. Tomatoes or potatoes?
Ooh. Fuck. Potatoes.
Okay. Fast or slow call jam?
Ooh, fast.
Okay. Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Baraka or circus?
Ooh, fuck. That's Baraka.
Okay. Nice.
Love that. Love that. Well, Mitch, again, thank you for joining us. For right now, where's the easiest place for people to find your art?
Instagram. But Halloween, I will have I'm gonna start posting my videos on YouTube, put the TikTok, but Instagram for right now is like 100% my big thing.
Fuck yeah. Well, we will tag.
Sorry, go ahead.
We'll tag that information in the description. But Scotty, do you have anything to finish this out?
Yeah, I was getting really excited. Do we want to go ahead and announce our year anniversary guest?
Take it away.
Man, if you might have noticed, this is episode 51. So next week we are officially 52 weeks in a row strong. Kind of sealing out season 1 of Pod Podular. Don't worry, guys, we're not stopping at 52. But boy, do we have a really, really, really cool guest for 52. It wasn't a coincidence that we got Mitch on here this week. He is a finder of sounds in the kitchen, and we are going to go to your favorite sound designer's favorite sound designer next week. We have the fucking legend Richard Devine joining us. So check us out next week, guys, because we are so privileged that he's going to sit down with us and he's going to really dig deep with us. We're really, really excited to bring this one to y'all.
Gonna be a dick down. You can bet your bottom dollar. Mitch, again, thank you so much for joining us. Love what you're doing. Keep it up. Can't wait to see what's ahead. I know that the end of the month we're gonna start seeing a lot more content from you. So really excited for it and proud of you, brother. But thank you guys for watching and listening, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Throw us a like, throw us a subscribe, throw us a comment or review if you're feeling nice. We'll see you next week for episode 52. We're going to finish things out with the end of that first clip that we started on the intro and the answer to Mitch's final question here. So enjoy it. We're going to play it out. First time we've done that in the show. See you guys next week.